Meeting of the City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona to be held July 20th, 2021 at 6 p.m. Let's have our clerk take the roll, please.
Councilmember Henry? Here. Councilmember Currat? Here. Councilmember Matthews?
Here.
Councilmember Naren?
Here.
Councilmember Wilden?
Here.
Vice Mayor Hulse?
Here.
Mayor Linsky?
Here, thank you. Please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thanks for that. Next is a brief summary of current events by mayor, city council, and/or city manager. The public body does not propose, discuss, deliberate, or take legal action on any matter brought up during the summary unless the specific matter is properly noticed for legal action. Council members, do we have anything to report?
Just had a brief meeting with the nonprofits, and there was a few of us, but we did some things online and got some things answered as far as a mission statement, and we're off to a good start, I think.
Mm-hmm. Good. I think some council members attended the show and tell up on the hill for Mr. Keenan's project. Is that right? I wasn't able to. Is it coming along nicely?
Yeah, so we got to go on a tour of what they're putting up and saw all the infrastructure. Apparently the underground stuff takes a while, but it's pretty cool, and I'm glad he chose here.
Good. Awesome. All right. Mr. Corbin, do you have anything?
I do, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple items. In addition to that tour, we hosted the Chamber Mixer this week, and a couple of you, the Vice Mayor, most of the council actually ended up being there. And so it was a great event. They were able to sign up, I think, 3 or 4 companies to host the next few. So they're now going to be set. So very excited about them and the progress that the Chamber's making, getting back into the swing of things. So kudos to them. And then, as Councilmember Kratz said, it was a fascinating tour of the significant restaurant, winery, vineyard project, glass walls, 12-foot barrels. It just wine going back and forth between buildings. It's just amazing what they thought of, and the people mover, the enclosed people mover that's going to go from down here off near Cactus and Pima there, and all the way up to the top of the hill, and it's just going to be absolutely amazing. And as like she said, we're all glad he chose Cottonwood. Mm-hmm. And then I have a couple announcements for upcoming events. Manzanita Outreach is offering MO Packs for Kids. MO Packs for Kids provides nutritious pre-made meals, snacks, and books. Any child or young adult under 19 years of old is eligible, including multiple children per family. Pre-register at mopacks.org or at any pickup location. Starting in July, MO Packs are distributed on the 1st and 3rd Saturdays at the following location and times: Verde Valley Christian, 406 South 6 Willard Street here in Cottonwood from 10 to 11, and then our Shepherd Lutheran at 1090 South Page Springs Road in Cornville from 1 to 2. There will be a Historic Preservation Commission meeting on Wednesday, July 28th, beginning at 6 p.m. here at the Chambers. The agenda can be found online at CottonwoodAZ.gov. The Cottonwood Airport Commission will not be holding their regular meeting on Wednesday, August 4th. The next meeting will be held on Wednesday, September 1st at 6 p.m. here at the Chambers. There will be a community build day for the Cottonwood Kids Park Playground on Saturday, July 31st. We're seeking help and participation from our community to put the final stamp on the playground, so anyone who wants to be involved has an opportunity to do so. If interested, please let Parks and Rec know, and they will add you to the volunteer list so you can be invited to our volunteer meeting, which will happen on Wednesday at 5:30 at the Recreation Center. I needed to let council know that I'll be attending the ACMA Summer Conference in Tucson starting tomorrow through Friday. Rudy will be here and running the show, and I'll be on duty with my phone and email, but I'll be down in Tucson for the city managers meeting. And then we have a couple proud announcements in the last couple of months. Captain Paramedic Alex Lewis and Battalion Chief Troy Hoke completed a Bachelor of Science degree in Fire Service Administration through Waldorf University. And then Jamie Hauserman completed a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration through the same university. So congratulate to those staff.
Very good. Thank you.
Ron, do you mind bringing everybody up to speed on the new shuttle?
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Wilden. So we had ribbon cutting for the Verde shuttle That's the right name, right? I almost said the old name. Sorry. So we have 3 brand new buses. They're bigger buses, very comfortable ride. And they will be running regular daily from here to Sedona. I think it's like $2 to get there and back. If you want to go up there, have a glass of wine, come back here and have a glass of wine and find your way home through Uber or a taxi. No driving and drinking. Also, employees in Sedona that live here or vice versa have that to commute back and forth. We run an evening shuttle as well to help employees who work the swing shift in Sedona get back to their homes here in Cottonwood. And I didn't know if our deputy city manager had anything to add to that, but very excited. New marketing material, new buses. I don't know if you know that, but I think it was over 400,000 or 500,000 miles on each of the 3 old buses. We've replaced engines and trannies and all sorts of things on them. We used them to the utmost ability before we got these new ones. So we're very excited about it.
Great. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is call to the public. This portion of the agenda is set aside for the public to address the council regarding an item that is not listed on the agenda for discussion. However, the council cannot engage in discussion regarding any item that is not officially listed on the agenda for discussion and/or action, and comments are limited to a 3-minute time period. There's forms in the back, folks, if there's anyone in the public that would like to address us. And I've received just one so far. It's from Mr. Nacito.
How was your vacation?
It was great, thank you.
Good. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, council members, thanks for the opportunity. Michael Nacito, I live in Verde Village 7, not in the city limits. This time I'm here to speak solely to the mayor. Didn't get a chance to address you regarding Resolution 3904, so I want to do that. The only discrepancy I had in the discussion you presented afterwards, which is the not the filibuster, but the bully pulpit. After the vote's taken, you get to say what you wish to say. You were describing the term Bill of Rights sanctuary city as a place where criminals might want to gather. And I could assume that you were thinking about a sanctuary city for illegal immigrants in the country. But a sanctuary city where the Bill of Rights is honored would be a place where legal, law-abiding citizens would find comfort outside of any threat from the state or the federal government who might come up with some unconstitutional activity. So that's one of the things I want to address. The other one was in your questioning about the resolution itself, you brought up the chief of police and asked him how he felt about the resolution. Well, all the police officers swear to uphold the Constitution when they're elected and when they're promoted. So that seemed like an odd thing to do. I looked back at the police officers, I won't mention their names, some of them shrugged when I looked at them. So they were a bit befuddled, if that's a word, for your questioning. And then the last bit of questioning you had was for the city attorney. You asked him what his thoughts were. Well, I know from my experience when a resolution is presented to the city and to the city council for consideration, it probably touches every department head's desk so they can red pen it and see how it affects their department, see how it affects their operations. And the last person that probably touched that was the city attorney. So to ask the city attorney what he thought about it was odd. So I'm not sure if you understand the operation here at your city or if you were just grandstanding and talking more than was needed. So I'd encourage you to just be real and represent the community and not just your little niche of where you want to send the city. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on then to approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of July 6, 2021.
I move to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of July 6, 2021.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. And monthly financial report. We don't often get a presentation on this anymore, but does council have any questions on this? No? Okay. All right, consent agenda is up next. The following items excuse me, are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or citizen so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. 7 items tonight. If anyone wants one pulled, please indicate so. 1 is proposed engagement of Atlas Technical Consultants, LLC, for the engineering and design of an injection well and associated infrastructure at the Mingus wastewater treatment plant to facilitate the recharge of reclaimed water. Item 2 is acceptance of an American Resource Plan Act subgrant for the Cottonwood Public Library. Item 3 is acceptance of a Library Services and Technology Act subgrant for the Cottonwood Public Library for the creation of a digital media lab. Item 4 is consideration of a multi-license acquisition of controlled liquor license application from Andrea Lukowitz, applicant for the Speedway Store number 2882, located at 999 South Main Street. Item 5 is designating the City of Cottonwood as an official destination marketing organization in order to coordinate tourism promotion with the Arizona Office of Tourism. Item 6, resolution numbers 3105 and 3106, approving police dispatch service agreements with the towns of Jerome and Clarkdale. And item 7 is resolution number 3104, intergovernmental agreement with the town of Clarkdale, Arizona, for building official services. Is there an item that any council member or citizen would like pulled? I'll go ahead and motion then to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All right, Mayor made the motion. Councilmember Wilden seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, it's approved. And let's have our clerk please read resolutions number 3105, 3106, and 3104 by title only.
Resolution number 3104, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the town of Clarkdale, Arizona, for the services of Clarkdale's building official on an as-needed basis. Resolution number 3105, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the town of Clarkdale for police dispatch services. Resolution number 3106, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Arizona, approving an intergovernmental agreement with the town of Jerome for police dispatch services. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thanks. New business. The following items are for council discussion, consideration, and possible legal action. First up this evening is a request by the Verde Valley Homeless Coalition for waiver of a building permit fee, installation of a designated fire suppression water line. Evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Scott Ellis, Community Development Director. As you mentioned, Mr. Mayor, this is a fee request from the Verde Valley Homeless Coalition in the amount of $1,270.40 for their building permit and plan review fee for their fire suppression line. As you are aware, they're gearing up to operate a shelter, a little bit more in depth than the emergency shelter that they have now. Fire suppression is a requirement for them to do that. Council has waived several fees in the past for them as recently as just a couple of weeks ago. This one was not included with that because the timing of the request versus that meeting. So it is presented to you tonight.
All right. Council, any questions, discussion?
Mr. Mayor, before you approve, though, I received a question on this one about how many beds the shelter was going to be operating. Scott, do you know that? I forgot to call you.
I believe it's 20.
That's what I told the person that I thought the number was also.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah.
All right. Discussion, motion? Sure.
I move to approve the request from the Verde Valley Homeless Coalition to waive the building permit fee and the amount of $802.34 and the building plan review fee in the amount of $468.06 for a total amount of $1,270.40.
Second.
All right, Councilmember Wilden made the motion, Councilmember Nairn seconded it. But before we do a roll call vote, I should point out that I serve on the board. It's not a paid position, and there is no legal conflict for me to vote on this. So, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Henry?
Yes.
Councilmember Currat?
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews?
Yes.
Councilmember Nairn?
Yes.
Councilmember Wilden?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Halls?
Yes.
Mayor Alinsky.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Next is ordinance number 702, amending the zoning ordinance by amending Article 2, definitions, Section 201, general, lot line front, first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Tonight we have 3 installments in our continuing series of ordinance amendments that help with flexibility and clarity in our zoning code. The first has to do with the definition of front lot line. which may not seem like a big deal, but it kind of is, and I can walk you through it. It basically has to do with how we determine building setbacks on lots. And so right now, our code says in the case of a corner lot, a front lot line is the street frontage line which has the least dimension. In other words, the short side of the lot is always the front lot line. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. So we're proposing a little flexibility here, giving the zoning administrator the opportunity to amend that if they find that another lot line is more functionally the front lot line based on driveway access or existing address. And the way it works is here's a typical lot with the front street on the short side of the lot. They have front setbacks and rear setbacks, which are typically much larger than the side yard setbacks. This is the case most of the time, and the address is on the front street. But sometimes we have a situation where the front is the other side. So, but we still have to call the short lot line the front side setback. And even though the address and the driveway may be on the other street. So what we're proposing here is when we have a situation like this, so we don't have a problem with that rear setback or some measurement like that being a problem, we have the flexibility to call the front street the front setback and the rear setback. So that gives us a little more flexibility, gives property owners a little more flexibility when they're adding on or building a new building on a lot that may not conform to the regular corner lot dimensions. So that's our proposal, and this has been to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They unanimously recommended approval, and we have no public comments on it.
All right. Council, any discussion on this? Seems to make sense to me.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, this is the first reading, so we'll just go ahead and have our clerk, if there's no further discussion or anyone from the public tonight to comment on this, we'll go ahead and have our clerk read ordinance number 702 by title only.
Ordinance number 702, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance by amending Article 2 definitions, Section 201 point general, lot line front. Mr. Mayor.
All right. Thank you. And next up is ordinance number 703, amending the zoning ordinance by amending sections 414 R2 zone, single family, multiple family residential, and 415 R3 zone, multiple family residential. And again, this is the first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is number 2 in our series, and we have a situation in our zoning code where in the R2 and R3 zones, which is our multifamily zones, it currently gives you the option of having either one single family dwelling on a lot or a multiple family building. It does not give you the ability to put in 2 single family buildings regardless of the density on the lot. So we're in a situation where if somebody wants to put a second unit on, if they've got a house already, they say, what can we do? We say either you have to add on to the house, which may or may not make sense, or you need to build another building and combine it somehow with the existing building. We've just had a number of these cases come up and thought it would be a good idea to allow, again, some flexibility here. If people want to build cottages at the same density that you could build multifamily, why not be able to do that? And we're not changing the density at all in any of these zones. We're just changing the potential building configurations on these. Again, went to the Planning and Zoning Commission. They unanimously recommended approval, and we've had no public comments.
All right. And obviously setbacks between buildings still need to be kept for safety reasons and all that.
Right, we've got separation between buildings when they are separated, dictated by zoning code as well as building and fire codes.
Mayor, I just had a quick question. Was there a historical reason why prior council had the manufactured home accepted from the R2 prohibition?
And are you talking about R2?
So in the red line version, we're adding manufactured homes, and it comes into it then matches the language for the R3,
Yes.
but I just am not familiar with the background or what the prior rationale for that exception was, and then why we're recommending adding it in now.
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Henry, that is, as you say, to make it consistent with language in the R3 zone. In the R2 zone right now, we do have a provision in the conditional uses that a manufactured home could be put on a site. But that would be in the conditional uses, and this makes it clear that that's not one of the permitted uses.
Does that answer your question, or still give you some concern?
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right.
It just sounds as though it was an unintentional oversight then in the past and not an intention, you know, there wasn't a reason for that?
Yeah, we don't have the background on that, Councilmember Henry. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Ellis?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Council Member Henry, kind of as was just mentioned, some of these things in our code are so old that we don't know the reasons why they were put in. It does leave us scratching our heads, unfortunately, sometimes. We try to look at what makes sense today and maybe not then, because like I said, a lot of times there's no rhyme or reason to it. So we have a very hard time or almost no way of knowing why certain things were put in the way they were.
Oh, and that makes sense. So with this proposed inclusion of manufactured homes with the mobile homes in the R2 prohibition, a property owner could still go through the conditional use permit process. It's not, prohibiting that further, because I don't have that separate policy, the conditional use permit, in front of me.
Correct. We're trying to make a lot of the multifamily zones very similar, if not the same, on their permitted versus conditional uses.
That makes perfect sense. I appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
I feel like a lot of what happened in the past was cut and paste before cut and paste was possible. Yeah, scissors, and actual paste. All right. Well, if there's no other discussion, this again is just a first reading, so we'll go ahead and bring it back for a vote. And move on to third in the series, which is ordinance number 704, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 404, general provisions, L, outdoor storage and junk, and M, storage and parking of mobile homes. Again, first reading.
I need to.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
703,
thank you.
Mayor. Ordinance number 703, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 414.42 zone, single-family, multifamily, residential, and 415.R3 zone, multiple family residential. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Take it away, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. In our general provisions section 404, we have subsections L and M that regulate outdoor storage, which includes various types of vehicles. Some of the wording in there is outdated and unclear. One example is very recently, last year, we came through with a ordinance that amends our rules on tiny houses, and we added a new definition of recreational vehicle that included a lot of different types of vehicles. So what we're able to do now is insert the word recreational vehicle to substitute for a lot of those different types of recreational vehicles that were listed in here, but not a complete list of those recreational vehicles. But utility trailers and boat trailers are not recreational vehicles, so we added those in as well to be specific about enforcement on those vehicles. And also the term vehicle replaces automobile, just so it's clear that it refers to vehicles. Again, went to the Planning Commission, recommended approval unanimously, and we've had no public comment on it.
Council? No? All right. Okay, again, first reading. I just want to say I appreciate you all taking the approach where if you recognize that there's some things that are causing heartache out there in the development or even just residential communities that are trying to add on or improve their properties, that you're taking a proactive stance and making the changes ahead of time. So thank you. And we'll have our clerk read ordinance 704 by title only.
Ordinance number 704, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, amending the zoning ordinance by amending section 404, general provisions, L, outdoor storage and junk, and M, storage and parking of mobile homes. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next is resolution number 3107, declaring the City of Cottonwood Employee Manual 2007 edition, revision number 2, to be a public record.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am Kirsten Lennon, the Financial Services Director, filling in for Amanda Wilmer, the Human Resources Director, so she had a baby. So tonight you'll have a resolution 3107, and it just is declaring the revision number 2 of the 2007 Employee Manual as a public record.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and motion then to approve resolution number 3107.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Matthews seconded it. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Henry,
Yes.
Councilmember Curott,
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews,
Yes.
Councilmember Naren,
Yes.
Councilmember Wilden,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Halls,
Yes.
Mayor Alinsky.
Yes. It passes, and so we move on then to,
Read the ordinance.
yeah, go ahead and read it by title only.
Resolution number 3107, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, declaring as a public record that certain document filed with the city clerk and entitled City of Cottonwood Employee Manual 2007 edition, revision number 2. Mr. Mayor.
Thanks for keeping me in line. Next, ordinance number 705, adopting revisions to the city's employee manual, first reading.
Yes, so this is the first reading of the ordinance to do the amendments to the employee manual that was presented at the last regular meeting by Amanda Wilbur. There have been 2 small changes in the document, and that would be in section 8.3C2, and that's regarding disciplinary demotion, and it's reflected in the redlined edition that's in your packet. And then also council had discussed the changes to section 8, and that mentions the city manager's decision step of the appeal process, and it was decided to amend that to say that he can look at the factual findings from the recommendation from the personnel board, and then based on those he can has to provide a statement if he reverses those decisions that were made by the personnel board, and basically only on the factual evidence of that finding from the personnel board. And all those changes are also in the red line version.
All right. Council, is there any other discussion? I know you discussed it at great length when I was listening in on vacation, but is there anything else?
We are able to change this if we ever choose to, i.e. we get a new city manager.
By ordinance, obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you feel comfortable with the way that's written then?
Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Matthews, yes.
Okay. All right, well, if there's no further discussion and no one from the public here to ask any questions either, then we'll go ahead and have our clerk read ordinance number 705, and we'll bring this back for a vote then at a future meeting. Okay.
Ordinance number 705, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Cottonwood, Yavapai County, Arizona, adopting by reference a document entitled City of Cottonwood Employee Manual 2007 edition, revision number 2. Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is consideration and possible approval of a proposed statement of values to be shared with the Independent Redistricting Commission at its meeting on July 27th, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll take this one, hopefully with the help of Mr. Horton and anybody else who has historical knowledge. So the Verde Valley mayors, managers, and a couple others, chambers of commerce, meet periodically. And This has come up as an issue for a couple of our neighboring communities. Clarkdale was very concerned, and Sedona was also concerned. The last time the redistricting happened, we all ended up in the same state legislative boundaries, but we have different federal representation. And there's a desire, at least from that group of folks, to ask that we all end up in the same districts, both at the federal level and at the state level with our representation. It's been discussed at a couple councils. There's a couple more that are meeting this week and early next week. I was hoping to be last. I didn't really know how this council felt about this issue, but the meeting's, I believe, on Tuesday, and so we won't have another meeting before then. So I can tell you, speaking with the mayors and the managers, very supportive of this. We feel that we all share a lot of commonalities, whether it's our economy or our culture or our natural resources. We share a lot of similarities, and we believe that an effort to have the same representation would benefit us at both the state and the federal level. So this is an open discussion. If directed, I will read this or some other statement or no statement into the record at the meeting next week. They're having a satellite meeting. The RC's having a satellite meeting at Yavapai College in Sedona. That's probably where myself will attend, or maybe I can talk someone else into it attending, but we'll figure that out if council so desires for it to be read into the record. But normally I talk with council members and have an idea. This is fresh to all of us. It was kind of last minute, so thank you to the clerk's office and Mr. Horton for letting me get this on the agenda here at the end. And I'm kind of curious how council feels. Mr. Mayor, I think you were involved in the last time you were on council at the time, I think. Maybe, or Mr. Horton can add some insight.
Anything to add, Mr. Horton? No. No? Okay. Yeah, we just wanted to get in front of council to see if the values seem to fall in line. They're not too specific, pretty broad, and I think it's in line kind of with what Sedona and I think Clarkdale is looking at. Sedona's already approved, so yes.
Has anybody brought up any negatives to it? Any of the cities or towns?
Not that I've spoken with, no. But I did not watch the Sedona City Council meeting where they talked about this, so I don't know specifically, but they did vote to approve it being read into the record, as did Clarkdale. And from what I can tell from the mayors of Jerome and Camp Verde, that they are going to ask their councils to do the same. But again, they can't speak for their councils without it being in front of them, so I don't know how it turned out.
So then, by way of doing this, are you trying to convince them that we need to align the state and federal legislative districts together?
We're trying to make sure that the rural areas near us and our municipalities are in the same legislative district and then in the same congressional, federal and state. Whether they exactly overlap or match perfectly those two districts is not necessarily the goal, but however they design the federal districting, we would like to have the same. The proposal is that we recommend that we have the same representation. Mr. Horton?
And just mathematically, they can't be exactly the same because of the apportionment and number of representatives.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I get that. I just, for me, I don't think there's enough information here for me to stand behind and support something like this. Just not enough information. We do have a lot in common with these communities, but we have a lot of differences in these communities too, and drawing legislative districts, it's kind of a big deal when it comes to that. So I agree with the things we have in common, and I'd like to work together on those, but I'm not ready with such little information, a little time, to get behind asking them to try to do what you're considering here. So.
I have to agree with that. I'm not comfortable with it.
And I third agree as well, just not from the lack of information, but because I think that working together collaboratively as a region should be independent of who our elected officials are, and there can be added value with having separate electeds on the same page and working together representing similar areas. So personally, perhaps additional information might change my opinion because we didn't get too much. I mean, the attachment doesn't provide, it's just basically notice to put the public of the hearings with the dates, times, et cetera. But from the redistricting values, we differ somewhat significantly in some of the items that are listed from our neighbors.
Okay. Other thoughts, council?
I would tend to support what's already been discussed. I'm not sure the advantages without more information.
Okay. This is why this is before us, just to get a sense of where we all stand so we can kind of direct our manager what to do or not do. So
I'm just looking at it as if we have 2 representatives in the federal level, then that gives us more representation than if we combine it to 1 on the stuff we agree with.
Can you tell us what the advantages to doing this for the city of Cottonwood might be?
I don't want to come out too strong for or against either one, but I think there's a thought that having a singular, because right now we do have a singular state representative, State Representative Burton, State Representative Blackman, and Senator Rogers. They represent the whole Verde Valley, and you know, we're able to talk to them as one voice. So there is 60,000 or so individuals in these communities. Maybe that's a little low number, versus Cottonwood Calling, which is a community of 12,000. So sometimes there's some unity in numbers, but I don't disagree with what was already spoken earlier about having more contacts. I do know that when I first got here, I can't say it happened recently, but when we first got here, Representative O'Halloran from that Sedona and Northward did periodically come down here, and he joined some of our regional meetings that we had, in addition to our other representatives who regularly comes down. So we did, in my position and elected official position, sometimes we did have more contact with more representatives that maybe if we were all in one, we wouldn't. It's just hard to say. I think for Sedona, and again, it's not our job necessarily to, you know, do what's always best for Sedona. We're Cottonwood, but I feel they have 2 in one city, they are split. And that's got to be difficult for the leaders, for the managers, and for the elected officials. I know working in 2 counties I feel bad for the manager up there. I have enough meetings on having 1 county. And so I can imagine they would like to have 1 representative at the federal level to represent their entire city. And if they're more closely aligned with the Verde Valley versus north of there. So I think that was one of their big draws. You know, and then some of the smaller communities, Clarkdale wants to have as many people that have similar interests and priorities and economies and those kinds of things. And so the more of the district that is in the valley, the more likely they feel that their rural values will get represented at the level. So I can tell you from experience in another district, we were very nervous about going from 1 state district to 2. It ended up not having any effect. It really comes down to the power and the capabilities of your representatives and how much they fight or don't fight for your area. So, you know, it's really offline. I've talked a lot about, I believe the city of Cottonwood needs to figure out a way to do a better job of being more active at the state level. And I think that's more key than necessarily how many representatives you have. I do think that there is more power in 60,000 people being represented by a representative in our area than, you know, when we divide that up. But I can't disagree with anything that's been said here tonight because I've seen it work when it's split and I've seen it work when it's combined. So I think it's really about the value of who you put in the office.
Does that help you lean one way or the other on this? Or? I'm getting a sense from council that we don't find a lot of value in having just 1 congressional representative. We're fine with having 2, and maybe we don't have enough information to make a decision otherwise. But and I can see both sides of this. I think particularly for Sedona, being straddled by 2 counties, I think is really challenging. We don't have the same challenges here, but you know, I can find value in both. So if the council decides not to sign this, it's certainly not going to cause any heartache for me, one way or the other.
Mr. Mayor,
if it for you because it's happening, we want to make you aware it's happening and have a discussion about it, so there's...
If it pleases, these hearings will go on for a while. This is just the northern area one. I believe it's early in the IRC redistricting process. I can listen, pay attention, and I can bring a report back in August and see if council wants to get involved later in the process. I don't believe there are rules. I can look that would prevent me from speaking or submitting for the record a letter, at another hearing that they're going to have, because I think there's several dates that they'll be doing these. This just happens to be the northern one. It's actually being held in Prescott, Yavapai College in Prescott, with the satellite being over here in Sedona. So there'll be, I want to say, at least 3 other rural meetings that if I needed to, I could get to, so we can, I'll try to gather some more information. The other councils will have met by then, and I can bring maybe their notes or something from them, or invite someone who feels strongly one way or the other back to council to see if they want to explain better than I did.
Okay, so Jerome and Camp Verde have yet to vote on this?
To the best of my knowledge. It doesn't mean it didn't happen last night. I'm not sure if anybody met last night, but to the best of my knowledge.
Okay, all right.
I just don't see any downside for us making a decision at this point.
Okay, that's fine, yeah. All right, well, we'll ask our manager then just to keep tabs on this process, and if there's anything to bring back that council might deem valuable in helping us make a better decision, then you can bring it back. Otherwise, that's that. All right. Okay, the next is claims and adjustments.
I'll move to pay the claims and adjustments.
Second.
All right, we have Councilmember Henry make a motion and Councilmember Karat second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. And next is annual review of the city clerk, executive session. Pursuant to Arizona revised statutes, the council may vote to convene an executive session to conduct its annual performance evaluation of the city clerk, subject to the clerk's right to compel the council to discuss this matter in open meeting. And we didn't talk about it, but I'm assuming you'd like to go into executive session to, yeah.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, great. So this is the part where I kick everybody out, and I wish you a good night. We need a motion, right? Go into executive session?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, Mayor made the motion, Councilmember Henry seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
All